Hi, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my weekly photo chats. So today I'm going to talk about photographing protests. There are a lot of protests going on right now because of Black Lives Matter, and so I've been working and photographing them. I've been shooting for a magazine in Boulder called Yellow Scene, and the goal of photographs is, for me, is to document important history and to share those photos, have a place to actually get those photos in print somewhere or find a buyer for them. So I've photographed several rallies in my town, and I've photographed some people down in Denver. But recently there was another protest just last weekend, and it was with people who were on opposite sides. There were Trump supporters with guys carrying rifles, and there were Black Lives Matter people and signs saying defund the police. And it was an interesting study in two sides of the street and how they had such a different feel based on the message they were holding. And I photographed both sides. And it's not my job to say only one or only the other, whichever one I'm aligned with. It's important to document what's going on. And I found some people were kind of looking at the camera and kind of pointing, and I was like, when I work as a photojournalist, I just keep working. I was just using that small little 70 to 300 I was talking the other day about, and I was just walking around and I shot everybody from every point of view. I shot from behind people, facing, I shot close-ups of the guns. I felt like whatever is the story, we're out in public and I have the right to document. Somebody did come up to me and says, "What are you taking pictures for?" And I said, "I'm a freelance photographer. I'll probably sell these to Yellow Scene magazine, but I'll find any available buyer if you know any." And I made a little joke, and he was like, "Okay." And nobody else ever asked, but I saw some people kind of pointing and noticing me. But I'm very deliberate. I'm very much right in front of them, and I'm very, you can tell I'm shooting, and I just keep shooting. And I'm not putting the camera down. If somebody's looking into the lens, I'm not even stopping shooting that. I might shoot that too. And the goal for me is to address it as if I'm just here to shoot everything and nothing is off limits and there is no intimidation. I'm also not completely impartial. I'm shooting both sides. And I'm actually shooting both sides, sometimes in the same frame, because I want to show juxtaposition. But it's important when you're out working something that there can be some kind of tension because of two sides, is to just work it and to not bring any kind of agenda to it. Not, I'm not in people's faces with a 24mm lens. I'm using that 70 to 300 for those photos. And I'll put a link to them below. You can see what they look like. And that's the example of, I think, my background as a photojournalist for so many years, that I am completely comfortable working not from the sidewalk. I'm actually in the street shooting both sides, facing the street, because they're protesting and holding up their signs for the passing car traffic, and finding places to shoot that I can fill the frame with their message. And again, very, very overtly, because I want them to know I'm there. I want them to see that, yes, I'm working. And if anybody asks, I have a perfectly valid reason for being there and a perfectly good right to do it. In fact, why are you out there to make a scene if you don't want to be seen? Obviously they do. And so I enjoy shooting that kind of subject because there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of people with faces and expressions, and sometimes the positioning of two next to each other is also kind of a good storytelling element. So watch for that link down below. I'll put that in. And if you're ever out shooting, it's important to cover news. Right now, the protests that are going on are really probably, it seems like the first time that maybe there will be real change in America to work towards eradicating racism. And to not document that seems like missing out on a huge story. So I definitely go out and I catch all the protests that I can and get them to any kind of a publication I can when I get an opportunity, because I want them to be published and I want them to exist for time to come. All right, that's today's photography talk. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. If you can support, please hit the Patreon, and I'll be back next week. We'll talk photography. As always, here's the good light.